I was born and raised in the church. We started out in my family's church, not long, maybe I think probably just like my grandparents went there. So I was probably the third generation in that church. We went there for a while. I was baptized in another Methodist church close by, but my dad was killed in an accident when I was really young. And so that sort of started a kind of chaos in our lives, I guess. Stay-at-home mom, 3 very young children and stuff. And so we soon, life just changed a whole lot. Ended up going to a lot of different churches over the years, lots of different denominations, lots of very different theologies, different experiences, ranging from very similar to Methodism to probably the most extreme and what I would now call completely crazy. So, but growing up, we consistently went to church. For me, it was, and I don't remember questioning this as a child or even a teenager very much at all, not until probably high school where I started. And then at that time in high school, I was in a religious-based school. And that was very structured, very, I'm gonna say, legalistic. And I really started kind of questioning things at that time. Then I went to college, I went to undergrad in particular, and got really smart and really just started questioning all of it. I was studying psychology, mental health, neurodevelopmental science, neuroendocrine responses to stress, things like that. And I just felt like everything that we were either attributing to God or in some cases blaming on God, I was like, we have all these scientific answers. This just makes so much more sense than this kind of being just a good story in this big book. And so I guess I would say I kind of became agnostic those later teenage years and, early to mid-20s. Yeah, I went to undergrad in Pennsylvania, and so it was a huge culture shift, living amongst the Yankees for a while. And had no intention of ever coming back to Louisiana at all. And then my mom got ill, and so I came home for that and got married. And then when I got married, let me back up. Early to mid-20s, I went through a situation. I was back here. I still was not attending church at that point or anything, just kind of working and sort of struggling to figure out exactly what I was doing and finishing up school and finishing up undergrad at that point. And something happened, that situation arose that I battled with for probably a year. And it was like I tried everything. I was going to control this situation. I was going to fix this situation, and I just tried everything. And it was just a hot mess for a year. Nothing worked. And I don't remember ever thinking, okay, I've exhausted everything. Let me just pray and see how it goes. It was not a conscious decision. I almost think that maybe it was like maybe a muscle memory kind of thing of, again, even though as we were growing up during, all those different denominations, I don't remember really feeling super connected to the thought of God or a religion or anything like that, but just something happened. And I stopped and I prayed, and it was like instantaneous, sort of the clarity of, you're not going to control this situation. We're not going to fix this situation the way you think we are. And this is what you need to do, move on. And it was like literally that night, I can remember the day that I can remember everything about it. It just sort of changed everything. I work in forensic infant mental health. So we're talking children 0 to 6 who have been, most of them have been abused, physical, sexual abuse, neglected, victims of crime, things like that. So that alone is just like, it's really, really hard work. And not only dealing with these innocent babies, but of course they're babies. And so working with the entire family. And almost always it's just sort of this generational kind of, the parents were abused or were victims, and it goes back many generations and such. And they all just have such high needs. We're talking extreme poverty, rejection, being marginalized groups in society and everything, substance use, their brains being exposed to substances prenatally. Like, it's just problem on top of problem on top of problem. And it's just beyond overwhelming. And there are so many days that I just want to come home and get into a fetal position and not, just kind of shut the world out. And, I do this sometimes, not always. I mean, not often, but, just want to do something like grab a phone and just doom scroll or just watch TV. Have nobody talk to me or anything like that. And that's, if I were to do that, then I think burnout, compassion fatigue, just like there's just no way I could continue to do this work. And everything in me, like I believe that Christians are meant to serve. I think that, Jesus came and that's what he did. He served. And I think that we as Christians are at our best when we are serving other people. And that's my job. That's my career. And I work in different, like I'm a full-time academician. I'm part-time working directly with families. And then I do sort of this macro work of writing grants and training child welfare workers across the state and all of that. So in those three different jobs, it's all the same work, it's all the same people, but but I'm working with different sets of people in it, and the burnout and the early retiring, the quitting, the mental health issues that my colleagues are going through and stuff. It's just so rampant. And there's just no way. And we have built into mental health, self-care. We're like, most people are just so sick of hearing about self-care. And I'm constantly telling people, I think we're getting the self-care thing wrong. Diet, exercise, sleep, so important. But I think those are like these pillars that are on this foundation of spirituality. And that's God. And we even have, going back to my undergrad where I wanted to explain everything with science, we do have scientific proof of how important spirituality is for people. And I just feel like spirituality, God, and interaction with people in a church who are of like mind, that social connection with that, I just think that's the foundation that all of these other things must lie on. And I think there's a huge difference between those of us, especially in academia, who kind of really frown upon religion. In my field, there's been so many people who have been traumatized by religious institutions. So I think everybody approaches spirituality, God, and religion in particular with so much caution because of that. I just think there's no way that I would be able to continue day to day. Not only does it help me get through this work with these people, but I think it makes me such a better clinician. It's really hard when you've got a parent who has in some way broken a child. And the only way to heal this child is to work with this parent. You have to be able to see this parent as Jesus would have seen this parent, which is somebody who was also hurt and somebody who is also so deserving of love and support and unconditional acceptance. And there's just no way that I would be able to do that. I would just see, this is somebody who hurt this kid. If I did not have God strengthening me, if I was not in church constantly being told about and hearing about that universal acceptance and love, I'm thinking about all of the people who have been hurt by people who call themselves Christians, or in churches who espouse what they say are Jesus ideas. I don't think church is always, I think there are some churches and denominations who are like, everything should feel good. And I'm not saying that that's it. I have been called out before in church, right? And I think that's a very important function of the church, to kind of hold up a mirror that will help you to kind of self-reflect and evaluate what you're doing and how that's working. And I think we do need to be convicted on those things. Otherwise, we would continue with just what feels good in life rather than what's good for us. But if you have gone to a church, or if you have had interactions with a so-called Christian that left you, you walked away from, and you felt judged, you felt like you didn't belong, then I would say the problem was with that so-called Christian, or with that church's theology or practices. I've been in churches where they've asked people to leave because of what they were wearing, and especially between gender differences, and how women should behave, and what they should and should not do. I've heard of other people who, because of their gender identity, because of their sexual orientation, like, none of that is from Jesus, in my opinion, none of it. And there are so many people who use that Bible as a weapon. And I don't think anywhere in there does Jesus say, except, we love these people, except these people. So if those are messages that you have gotten, if that's what you have felt, I just encourage them to try again, that those people or that place was wrong, and I don't think those were of God. I don't think any church gets it completely right, and I don't think every person in even the good churches get it right, but just to keep trying, because that's not of God. You should feel loved, you should feel welcome, you should feel redeemed, you should feel restored. I think that's one of my favorite words, is church and religion and spiritual practices they shouldn't just be feel-good stuff, but they should actually restore you from everything that the world does to you.